Right now, somewhere in this vast world, a man is sitting on a comfortable sofa next to a woman who has just asked him a seemingly simple question. It is a soft, innocent-sounding inquiry that most people would overlook without a second thought. He answers her casually, perhaps with a quick shrug or a brief sentence, and then he returns to whatever he was doing. What he does not realize is that in that tiny fleeting moment, she has just told him everything he ever wanted to know. She has handed him the golden key to her heart, and her deepest desires on a shiny silver platter wrapped up in the most ordinary everyday words imaginable. And because he did not know what to listen for, he missed it completely. That man might be you, but I want you to know that after we explore this together, that will never happen to you again. You are going to learn how to hear the music behind the words, the real meaning hidden beneath the surface of ordinary conversation. You will discover that communication between men and women operates on two entirely different frequencies. And understanding this difference will transform not just your romantic relationships, but how you connect with the women in your life. Here is a truth that might feel like a sting at first, but it is crucial to understand. Women almost never say exactly what they are thinking or what they want when it comes to intimacy and closeness. I know this is true because I am a woman myself. I have lived this truth. I have felt this reality in my bones, and I have spent many years of my life studying how women communicate their feelings and desires. I can tell you from both personal experience and extensive research that the way women express their desire for closeness looks nothing like what most men expect it to look like. There is no bright neon sign flashing in the dark. There is no big loud speech where she pours out her secrets and vulnerabilities. There is no movie scene where the music swells and she suddenly runs into your arms proclaiming her love and desire. Real life is much quieter and far more subtle. It is so delicate and understated that it often passes by men like a tiny whisper struggling to be heard during a loud booming thunderstorm. Most men simply do not know what they are listening for. A comprehensive study published in the journal Communication Monographs revealed something fascinating about how men and women communicate differently. The research found that women use indirect communication methods approximately 70% more often than men do when discussing topics that trigger shyness, fear, or emotional vulnerability. 70% is an enormous number. Let that sink in. It means that when a woman wants something deeply personal, something that makes her feel exposed or unprotected, she is almost certainly not going to come right out and say it directly. Instead, she dresses her message in a secret code. She wraps it up in the most normal, harmless-looking language she can find. She does this deliberately to protect her heart. She is safeguarding herself emotionally because being vulnerable is genuinely frightening. If you are not paying close attention to the feelings underneath the words, if you are only listening to the surface level of what she is saying, you will miss the real message entirely. You will overlook the profound vulnerability and need she is expressing. This is where our exploration together becomes different from anything else you might have encountered before. I am not going to overwhelm you with a long, confusing list of 20 different signs to memorize. I will not ask you to try and guess what her body language means, or attempt to read her energy like it is some kind of magic trick. Instead, I am going to share with you the exact 2 questions she will ask you when she is feeling ready to be close and intimate with you. Just 2 questions. That is all you truly need to know. Once you understand what these questions are and why she asks them, you will never be able to unhear them. You will start to notice them everywhere. You will remember them from previous relationships. You will hear them in your current relationship. And you will recall conversations from years ago that suddenly make perfect sense now. But before I reveal what those 2 questions are, there is something very important you must understand first. You need to comprehend why she asks questions at all, instead of simply telling you what she wants in plain English. Understanding this fundamental why will change the way you hear every single thing a woman communicates to you for the rest of your life. From the time a girl is only 5 or 6 years old, she begins learning a very specific set of unwritten rules about how to behave with other people. These rules are not found in any book, but they are learned from the world around her, from her family, her peers, her culture, and society. The rules tell her, do not be too loud, do not be too pushy, do not be the one to make the first move. Be friendly but not too eager. Show interest but not too obviously. If that sounds exhausting, it is because it truly is. It is incredibly tiring to constantly balance all those rules throughout your life. Yet this is how most women are raised and trained to behave all over the world. Dr. Deborah Tannen is a renowned professor of language at Georgetown University who has spent decades studying how men and women communicate differently. One of her most famous discoveries is that women tend to use what she calls rapport talk. This means women use words to build bridges of connection. They use conversation to establish whether they are emotionally safe and to feel out how the other person is feeling before they reveal their own vulnerable heart. Men, by contrast, typically use report talk, communication focused on sharing facts, giving information, and solving problems. It is like a news report, direct and practical. So when a woman asks you a simple question, she is not usually looking for a fact-based answer like a computer would require. She is checking the temperature of the room. She is testing the waters to see if it is safe to walk deeper. She is gathering information about whether you are present, whether you care about her inner world, and whether she can trust you with her authentic self. This is why so many good men feel completely blindsided when a woman suddenly pulls away or acts disinterested. The man thought everything was going wonderfully. She was smiling and laughing, asking him questions, and seemed engaged. But from her perspective, she had opened her heart. She asked the two most important and vulnerable questions she could think of. And he treated them like boring small talk. He gave her a one-word answer and went back to his phone or the game. In that quiet moment, without saying another word, she felt the door close. She understood that he was not really there with her, not really seeing her or her attempts to connect. So she stepped back, withdrew, and began protecting herself. Now that you understand how she thinks and how her communication operating system works, it is time to discuss the first of the two questions. When I tell you what it is, you might be surprised because it sounds so simple and ordinary. The first question a woman will ask you when she wants to be close and intimate is this: what are you thinking right now? I know exactly what is going through your mind. You are probably thinking that this is it, that this is the big secret she has been hinting at. And yes, it really is. The reason you might feel disappointed by how simple it sounds is the exact same reason so many men miss this signal every single day. It sounds like nothing. It sounds like she is just bored or trying to fill silence. But let me pull back the curtain and show you what is actually happening in her mind and heart when she asks those 5 words. When a woman asks what you are thinking, she is not making idle conversation just to fill empty space. She is making a brave, vulnerable attempt to step into your inner world. She is asking you for a VIP pass to see what is happening inside your heart and mind. She is saying, I want to know what it is like to be you right now in this exact moment, because I want to feel closer to you than I do right now. That is not casual conversation. That is her reaching out to you. Dr. John Gottman is one of the most respected researchers in the world when it comes to studying relationships and what makes them succeed or fail. He calls these little moments emotional bids. An emotional bid is like a tiny hand reaching out to grab yours. It could be a gentle touch, a certain look, a funny comment, or a question exactly like this one. Dr. Gottman conducted extensive research at the University of Washington, and he found something truly incredible about these moments. Couples who noticed these little emotional bids and responded to them stayed together 86% of the time. But couples who missed them or ignored them ended up breaking up 69% of the time. Think about that gap, 86% versus 69%. That is a 17-point difference, which represents a massive chasm between a happy relationship that lasts a lifetime and one that slowly, sadly falls apart while both people sit in the same room feeling completely alone, disconnected. So when she looks at you and asks what you are thinking right now, she is making a bid for emotional connection. She is trying to bridge the gap between you, and how you answer that question changes everything that happens next. If you say nothing much, or I don't know, or something that shuts the conversation down, she feels that as a rejection. It is not a loud, angry, shouted rejection where people are yelling at each other. It is a quiet, heavy kind of rejection that lands in her heart like a stone. It is like a tiny bit of sand falling into a delicate clock. Over time, that sand accumulates and builds up until the entire mechanism stops working. Here is the critical connection to physical intimacy. For most women, feeling close in their hearts must happen before they feel like being close with their bodies. This is not just an old saying or relationship folklore. It is how our brains are actually wired at a neurological level. Research published in the Archives of Sexual Behavior found that a woman's desire for intimacy is much more tied to her emotions and her environment than a man's desire typically is. This means a woman's body does not respond primarily to how someone looks or simple physical attraction. Instead, it responds to feeling safe, to feeling like she is truly seen as a person, to feeling like her partner genuinely cares about what is happening inside her emotionally and mentally. When she asks you what you are thinking, she is actually checking multiple boxes simultaneously. She is asking, do you trust me enough to tell me the truth? Are you really here with me right now, or is your mind elsewhere? Do you see how special this moment is? Do you recognize what I am trying to do here? And if your answer demonstrates that the answer is yes, something beautiful and profound shifts. It is not a loud, obvious change, but something shifts inside her nonetheless. A protective wall comes down, a door opens up. She moves one significant step closer to wanting to be with you in every possible way. So the next time she asks you that question, please do not just shrug your shoulders or try to be funny to deflect from it. Look her in the eyes and tell her the truth, even if what you are thinking is something silly or completely mundane. What she wants is not a perfect, polished answer. She just wants you to let her in, to give her access to your inner world, to show her that you trust her the way she is trying to trust you. But that is only the first half of the story. Even after she asks that first question and you give her a wonderful, genuine answer, she often has one more question she needs to ask before she feels completely ready to open up. And this second question is even more cleverly disguised than the first one because it does not sound romantic at all. It does not sound like a deep emotional moment. It sounds like a totally casual throwaway line that you might hear 10 times a day from various people. And that is exactly why almost every man on the planet gets it completely wrong. The second question she will ask you when she wants to be intimate is this: are you tired? Go ahead and have a little laugh if you want. You might even roll your eyes because it sounds so utterly basic and unrelated to romance. But I promise you, by the time I explain what this really means and the deeper purpose it serves, you are going to remember at least 3 times in your past when a woman asked you this exact question and you completely missed the point. You will think back to those moments and wish you had understood what she was really asking. Are you tired? Is one of the most clever and well-disguised questions in human communication history. On the surface, it sounds like she is just being sweet and concerned about your well-being. It sounds like she is checking to make sure you are feeling okay and getting enough rest. And sometimes that is genuinely all it is. But in special moments, especially late at night or after a really wonderful date or when you have been talking deeply for a long time and the mood feels different, this question is not about sleep at all. It is a question about permission and availability. What she is really asking you is, are you available for me right now? Do you have the energy and presence to stay awake and be with me tonight? Are you going to just roll over and fall asleep, or is something more exciting and intimate going to happen between us? She asks it this way for a very smart, strategic reason. She asks a yes or no question about being tired because it gives her what psychologists call a safe way out. If you answer that yes, you are really tired, she can just nod and say, okay, honey, good night. No one feels embarrassed. No one feels rejected. The night ends peacefully without any awkward or uncomfortable feelings. But if you answer no, I am not tired at all, you are giving her the green light to take the next step. You are telling her it is okay to move closer to you, to touch your arm, to initiate the kind of intimate moment she has been thinking about and anticipating all evening. This is the remarkable thing about how women have learned to communicate. It is actually quite brilliant, and honestly, men could learn a lot from this approach. She manages to ask a very big, important, vulnerable question while simultaneously keeping herself perfectly safe from the risk of feeling hurt or rejected. That is some seriously high-level emotional skill and strategic communication. Let me give you a concrete example so you can see this clearly in your mind. Imagine you just had a wonderful date with someone you care about. You had a great dinner. You both laughed a lot, and you had meaningful conversations about many different topics. Now you are walking her to her front door, or perhaps you are sitting together on a sofa or bench. You can physically feel the spark in the air between you. She has been leaning toward you all evening, making eye contact and finding little reasons to touch your hand or arm. Then in a soft voice, she asks, "Are you tired?" If you respond that yes, you are a little tired, she will probably smile warmly and tell you she had a wonderful time, and she means it sincerely. She really did have a good time with you. But she will also feel a small bit of disappointment that she will never mention out loud. She gave you the signal, she opened the window of opportunity, and you unknowingly closed it because you did not recognize it was there. Now imagine if you answered differently. She asks, "Are you tired?" And you look at her with a small warm smile and say, "Not even a bit." In that moment, you might see a subtle change in her eyes, a shift in her expression that you might not even consciously understand. But she just got the all clear she was looking for. She now knows that the next part of the night is possible. You did not push her or make her feel uncomfortable or pressured. You simply told her that you are present, you are awake, and you are ready to be with her in this moment. To a woman, that answer means everything. It gives her the safety she needs to proceed. A large-scale survey conducted by the Kinsey Institute spoke to many women in committed relationships about their feelings regarding intimacy. The researchers found that the number one reason women said they did not want to be intimate with their partner was not because they were not attracted to them. It was because they felt disconnected or felt like their partner was not really there with them emotionally. Let that fact sink in for a moment. She is not avoiding physical intimacy because she does not want you or find you attractive. She is often avoiding it because she is not 100% certain that you want her in that specific moment, that you are truly present and available for her. Asking, "Are you tired?" is her way of finding out if you are emotionally and physically available without having to take a huge risk herself. This is also why the timing of this question is so critical and important. She is probably not going to ask you if you are tired at 2 o'clock in the afternoon while you are doing the dishes or folding laundry. She asks it when it is dark. She asks it when it is just the two of you alone together. She asks it when the mood is already starting to feel a little bit special and different from ordinary time together. If you start to pay close attention to when she asks this question, you will see a clear pattern emerge. It almost always happens right before what could be called a fork in the road, where the night could go in two very different directions. This is why this information is so urgent and important for you to understand. When a woman asks these two questions and you miss them over and over again, something profound happens that is very difficult to repair. She does not get angry right away. She does not start a fight or give you a long lecture about why you aren't listening to her. Instead, she just quietly writes it down in her mind. She categorizes you. It is not a cruel or mean category. It is a protective one. She starts to think of you as someone who is just not tuned into her, not attuned to her needs and communications. Once she has written that story in her mind, she starts to close herself off bit by bit. It happens so gradually and slowly that you might not even notice it happening until one day she seems very far away and you have no idea what happened or why. Dr. Sue Johnson, who is a world-renowned expert at helping couples heal and reconnect, talks about this pattern frequently. She calls it the protest withdrawal cycle. It means one person tries to reach out and connect. The other person does not see or recognize the hand being extended, and eventually the person who is reaching out simply stops trying. They do not stop trying because they no longer care. They stop because they are exhausted and tired of not being seen and understood. For many women, these two questions, "What are you thinking right now?" and "Are you tired?" are often the very last times they try to reach out and connect before they begin to pull back emotionally and physically. They function like the final test or the last safety check before she decides if it is truly okay to be fully and completely intimate with you. So if you have ever found yourself in a situation where things seemed fine and then she suddenly became cold or distant, try to think back carefully. I would wager a significant amount of money that in the days or weeks before she pulled away, she asked you one of these two questions, and I would bet that your answer was just a normal, everyday response that missed the deeper, more profound meaning. Now that you know the secret code, now that you understand what she is really asking and why, the next step is simple. You need to know how to answer these questions in a way that opens doors instead of closing them. And the good news is that the answer is much easier and simpler than you think. When she asks what you are thinking right now, just give her something real and genuine from your heart. It does not have to be poetic or a long speech. You could simply say, "I was thinking about how much I like being right here with you." Or even, "I was just thinking about something from work, but honestly, now I am just thinking about how beautiful you look right now." The most important element is not what you say, but that you showed up emotionally. You gave her a genuine piece of your inner world. You opened the door she was knocking on. And when she asks if you are tired and you feel like the mood is right and appropriate, just say no. Say it with a warm voice. Say it like you genuinely mean it. You do not need a fancy movie line or rehearsed response. You just need to communicate one thing to her. "I am here. I am with you. I am present. I am not going anywhere unless you want me to." Women are not some impossible mystery that cannot be solved. We are not trying to play games or speak in riddles just to be difficult. We talk this way because showing our true feelings is scary, and being rejected deeply hurts. The safest way to reach for someone is to use words that do not sting as much if the other person does not reach back. These two questions are not random or arbitrary. They are very intentional. They are the result of a woman deciding that she might be ready to trust you with her whole self, but she needs to know if you are ready to receive that trust.